What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Wayne's Perspective, where we operate in discipline, decency, integrity, and respect. And I'm coming through with another video just for you. And as usual, before I get started, I hope everyone is doing okay out there, taking every day one day at a time, living life the best way you know how. As for me, y'all know how I do. I'm doing pretty good myself, can't complain too much. I'm also taking every day one day at a time, living life the best way I know how. And as I record this, which is November 24th, 2025, I'm looking forward to the Thanksgiving holiday. You know, I got some time off from work, so I'm going to take advantage of that time as well. But overall, I'm doing just fine. And with all that being said, we're going to get started with today's video, which is going to be another 30-year retrospective. Now, if you've checked out my previous two 30-year retrospectives commemorating the Dog Pound's dog food and Jizza's liquid swords, I did mention in those videos that I was a little bit behind, mainly due to some recent things that were going on in my personal life. So there was a little bit of a delay in terms of putting the videos out to coincide with the actual date that they were released 30 years ago. So I did make plans to go ahead and get those videos out, even though I missed the actual date. So I just wanted to make that clear again. And speaking of 30-year retrospectives, that brings us to today's video, which is going to be focusing on Erick Sermon's second studio solo album, Double or Nothing, which was released November 7th, 1995, 30 years ago. And y'all know Erick Sermon, one half of the legendary duo EPMD with Parrish Smith. I'm not going to talk too much about EPMD in this video. I'll save that for a future video, but I'll just mention that after the breakup of EPMD in 1992, of course, Erick Sermon and Parrish Smith, they went their separate ways. Eric did his thing, Parrish did his thing. So in 1993, Erick Sermon dropped his first solo album, No Pressure. I'm going to talk about that album on my channel at some point, just not today, but that was a pretty good album and it was picked as one of the Source magazine's best albums for 1993. And yes, I do mention the Source magazine a lot because even though they're not the force in hip hop that they used to be, I still treat that magazine, especially the older editions, like the hip hop Bible that it was. I still have classic issues in my collection. There's some other ones I still have to add to my collection. So don't be surprised if you hear me mention the Source magazine a lot, specifically when I do videos like this. But again, No Pressure, that was a dope album. Y'all remember Stay Real, Safe Sex, Hidden Switches, all those classics. Also, I want to mention that Erick Sermon was going to have work in hip hop anyway, because even at this point in the game, he was a good producer. He still is a good producer, and he's still doing his thing almost 40 years in the game. Erick Sermon had some wiggle room, if you will, to keep his name out there, because if it wasn't with EPMD, then again, he could rap and he could produce. So the brother had no problems finding work, okay? I just wanted to make that clear. And speaking of production, we're going to get into that on this album as well because he handles it along with a few other names. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And with all this being said, we're going to go ahead and get right into the album, starting with number one, the intro, which was a skit. And I'm going to talk about a few of these skits on the album as well because there's quite a few of them. Eric, I've often said that he must have loved doing interviews because what we got to start this album was a brief clip of him doing an interview before we head into the album's official opener, which would be song number two, Bomb Diggity. And y'all remember this joint. Brothers can't see me because my style's the bomb diddy bomber, ding a ding diggy diggy. Classic. I love this song. And y'all remember when Bomb Digger was just another way of saying that something was dope, especially when it came to hip hop music? I certainly do. And dope was definitely one way to describe this song, complete with an equally dope beat produced by Erick Sermon. And with decent lines from Eric, a nod to Busy Bee during that hook, which was a nice touch, and Miss Crystal Gamble sounding so fly in the background, this was a 5 out of 5 winner. Definitely go back and check this joint out if you haven't played it in a while, because it's dope. Next up, we have song number three, Freak Out, which was produced by Rod KP Kirkpatrick and co-produced by Redman. Y'all know, one of my top 10 favorite MCs of all time. Speaking of dope, that same word is applicable to this banger right here. Eric and Red, they bring a tag team flavor to it, almost in an EPMD format, until Redman just decides to go in to close the song. I mean, His closing verse is just nothing but dopeness. But again, that's what you get when you got Redman on the track. And it seemed like he had stopped before he completely rip it up to shreds, but it's all good. It's tight, and it's a 5 out of 5 rated song. Number 4, we have In the Heat. This was co-produced by Sugarless. And in the heat of the moment, things get hot. That's what the hook says. And Eric goes the aggressive route with somewhat of a story being told throughout. I give it 4 out of 5. Next up, we have song number 5, which was Tell 'Em, produced by Erick Sermon. Well, let me back up and say this. All of the songs on this album were produced by Erick Sermon, unless I know otherwise. But this joint right here, Tell 'Em, it was co-produced by Rod KP Kirkpatrick. This was also the B-side to the Bomb Diggy single, and I bet most people listening to this don't remember that Redman had a sister by the name of Miss Roslyn, who was almost as dope as he was. And man, on this joint right here, she did her thing alongside Eric and Keith Murray, and it almost felt like a reprise of Hostile. Y'all remember the song that introduced Keith Murray to the world? You got a crew, you better tell them. Y'all know what I'm talking about. This time, Tell 'Em was introducing Roslyn to the world, and even in the middle of the song, they noted that. And even though it clocked in at a fast-paced 2 minutes and 35 seconds, I'm going to full Monty on this one by giving it a 5 out of 5. I mean, it's simply that good. Next up, we have number 6, and this was another skit titled In the Studio. A woman by the name of Kim came by and kicked a freestyle, and whether she was just messing around or not, it was good for the amount of time that she was rocking the mic. Plus, she was backed by a tight beat. So I wanted to talk about that very briefly. Next up, we have song number 7, Boy Meets World. This was produced by Rockwilder. Y'all know him. Co-produced by Eric. And I felt Eric on this one, considering what he was talking about. And the production here was quite laid back. And Eric's complimented it so well, I'll give it 4 out of 5. Next up, we have song number 8, Welcome. Another one produced by Rockwilder, co-produced by Eric. It's on like that. And everybody's welcome. Y'all remember this joint. Aaron Hall, formerly an R&B group guy, was doing his thing on the solo tip at this point, and he showed up for the hook here along with Keith Murray. This was almost as mellow as Boy Meets World, mainly for the radio and the clubs at the time. 4 out of 5 for this one. I'll skip the next skit, which was Live at the Barbecue, or should I say Live in the Barbecue. Gave a few laughs, nothing more or less. That was number 9. Then we moved to number 10, Set It Off. This was decent, nothing more, and it probably would have been a bit better had Keith Murray came through with a verse, even if Eric had already dropped 3 verses. I get this one 3.5 out of 5. Next up, song number 11, Focus. Man, on this joint, Eric, he goes in and he was calling out those who wanted to test him on the mic, calling out fly-by-night artists who thought, quote-unquote, a hit record made you a star in a year, and the cat that robbed him a few years prior to this. Eric still was the man remaining standing. Can't go wrong with a joint like this. I give it 4 out of 5. He said, when you see me at a show, don't bother grabbing this microphone. I'm Terra Fabulous with Action Holmes. No question. Next song on deck is number 12, Move On, co-produced by Sugarless. Redman came through with a tight opening verse for this one, followed by a good verse from Eric, in which he threw somewhat of a not-so-subtle shot at PMD towards the end. He said, I let one ninja slide in 93, but this year he's effing history. Well, that's a shot right there if I've ever heard one. And Passion, another guest, she closed it with a nice verse of her own, and I'll tell you one thing, Eric laced this album with some quality female MC talent. I'll say that. 5 out of 5 for this one. Next up, number 13, this was another skit called Smooth Thought. I thought that this skit sounded like something that would have graced any West Coast album at the time, just saying. Number 14, Do Your Thing. This was co-produced by Reggie Noble, also known as Redman, co-produced by Eric. This was the B-side to the Welcome single, and production-wise, I thought this was a precursor to Redman's Funkorama, which came out the next year in 1996. Plus, it was a much better song than this one. Don't get me wrong, Do Your Thing is decent, but that's about it. I give it 3 out of 5. Next up, we have song number 15, Man Above. Question. Did Erick Sermon actually discover Jazze Pha? Because that seemed to be the case here. And I also don't recall ever hearing about Jazze Pha prior to 1995. If I'm wrong on that, y'all let me know. Either way, he was tolerable doing the hook. I give him that. It seemed like this was following the same formula that was found on Do Your Thing, the prior song. I give it 3 out of 5. Number 16 is another skit. This one is called The Message, and Tone Capone, he just came through with a message for us all. In other words, keep it real. And we closed the album with song number 17, Open Fire. And as far as dope verses go, Redman was 3 for 3 and Keith Murray was 2 for 2 on this album. They came through with their guest spots. This pretty good closer. It made it clear that there was a noticeable chemistry between Erick Sermon, Keith Murray, and Redman. And in 1998, they would come out with their first and only Def Squad album called El Nino, which I may talk about on the channel at some point, but that may come when I get to the 30-year retrospectives talking about all of the albums that came out in 1998. But all I have to say is stay tuned. Open Fire overall, that gets a 4 out of 5. Now, this joint I haven't played in such a long time in its entirety. Based on what I remember, it's still dope. And I actually put this over No Pressure. But then again, this is another case where I would have to listen to both albums back to back to see which one I do like the best. But when I say I'll put it over No Pressure, that doesn't mean I put it over in a blowout. Like I said, I'm going to listen to both of them joints back to back pretty soon, and then I'll make my decision from there. Erick still brought the dope goods on the mic and behind the boards, along with tight contributions from Redman and Keith Murray, of course. And I can't forget about those FemC's Passion and Rosalind Noble. And had they came with more material in 1996, that probably would have been the best year for the female MC since, what, 1988 or 1989? But you can't go wrong with this album overall. And even though Bomb Diggy and Welcome made a little bit of noise in 95, Double or Nothing was overlooked at the time. And like I've said in previous videos, you can attribute that to the stacked year that was 1995, my favorite year in hip hop history, as y'all already know. Overall, I'll go with 4 mics for Double or Nothing. Nothing lower, nothing higher, but a comfortable 4 mic rating. And if you think I'm done, oh no. Y'all know what I got in my hand. Say it with me. A Source Magazine issue. This one is the December 1995 issue, number 75, and it had LL Cool J on the front. And who did the review for Double or Nothing? Let me check that out right quick. Nicholas Foloff. I believe that's how you pronounce the last name. So I'm going to go ahead and read this in its entirety. If there's one thing Erick Sermon knows, is how to take care of business. His years as one half of the classic EPMD combo, as well as his many successful turns behind the boards for other artists, attest to that. But the breakup with Parrish and the craziness that followed seemed to hit him hard. His solo debut, No Pressure, achieved minimal critical and commercial success. Then came the usual rumors and gossip. Erick had fallen off. Erick was contemplating retirement. Erick should drop the mic and stick to producing. So here comes solo joint number 2. Double or Nothing says it all. Where a lesser man might have folded, E-Double comes out with guns blazing, taking aim at all those who dissed and dismissed him. What is it about Erick that gives his career such longevity? As a lyricist, he doesn't hold the same stature as hip-hop's legend status MCs. Yes, he's in the top rung of producers, but even the best producers don't last half as long. Erick's taking up residence in hip-hop's elder statesman category because he knows what shit hits. Period. There's no shortage of bankable hardcore funk tracks on Double or Nothing. When the first track, Bomb Diggy, kicks in, you can imagine E back at the lab throwing the menu together. First, his trademark fat bass kick, then some funky guitar and vocal samples brought to perfection by well-written braggadocio rhymes. Freak out teams Erick with old reliable Redman on some ill intergalactic shit. Tell 'em features the multi-syllabic flow of Keith Murray and a mic-damaging performance by the Def Squad's new female MC, Roz. But the spotlight shines on Erick alone on cuts like Move On and Focus, where he cuts down fake MCs and wannabe gangsters. On Boy Meets World, Erick's theme is escaping negativity, as personified by industry backstabbers and the so-called keep it real type stars who have overrun hip-hop. So consider Double or Nothing a double victory for Erick. On a personal level, it's a big payback to all enemies and naysayers. Career-wise, it's a return to top form, a return to business as usual. That was a good review, and Mr. Nicholas, he gave it 4 mics, just like I did. Overall, like I said, this was a good album. I think you should throw it in if you haven't checked it out before, as well as if you haven't played it in a long time. Definitely check it out. You're going to realize there's some gems here. And with all that being said, I really don't have anything else to add. This one was pretty much straightforward. Shout out to Erick Sermon and everyone who had a hand in this. And y'all know me, chances are when I finish this review, I'm probably going to go back and throw it on, as well as listen to this and No Pressure back to back to see which one is the better album. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and close out the video on this one. If you like what you heard and you're ready to become part of Team Discipline, go ahead and hit that like button and drop some comments if you're feeling the content. Definitely let me know your thoughts on this album specifically and Erick Sermon in general. And last but not least, hit that subscribe button along with the bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. And until next time, my people, take care of yourselves and remember, the power of the mind is valuable. And I'll see you on the next 30-year retrospective where I'll be talking about LL Cool J's Mr. Smith. Take care, y'all.